Good evening, everybody. Welcome here as we get ready for race number 8 of Division 2 of the NNSCRA Skittles Super Speedway Series. Getting ready to cap off what's been a great weekend here at the Coca-Cola Super Speedway. Now, obviously, last week we weren't able to really see the finish, the exciting finish where Almariego picked up his first career win here in the Skittles Super Speedway Series due to some editing issues. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this one comes through and you guys get to see the entirety of this 34-lap event. A couple of things that we saw in the Division 1 race last night that we're going to have to touch on here in this one is, number one, we know for absolute certain that these drivers cannot make it the 34 scheduled laps without coming to pit road at least once, possibly twice, because we ended up having a caution on lap 7 in the Division 1 race, and these drivers had to come to pit road even after that in order to make it the rest of the way. And, you know, there's still the opportunity, if this thing could potentially go green all the way to the end, they might have to come to pit road twice under green flag conditions. Second thing we'll have to keep an eye on during the course of this race that we saw the Division 1 drivers deal with is high tire heat due to the immense banking there is in 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Especially drivers that enter into the corner in the much higher groove up towards the wall. Seems like when you get into a long run and the tire heat builds up, car does not want to turn, and we've seen a lot of drivers this weekend hit the wall off of turn 2 as well as off of turn 4. Have a feeling that's going to be where the trouble spots are going to be in tonight's race. Rob Evans, what a team this has been in the last couple of weeks. Back-to-back 4th place finishes. They start on the pole, trying to build off that. Let's go down and get the command to get these cars rolling.
Drivers, start your engines!
So as they will roll around this 3-mile super speedway behind the pace car, let's take a look here at the point standings coming into this race, your overall top 10 in points, and then we'll give you what your playoff grid looks like heading into this race as well. Listen to these numbers for Fury Gamington, the points leader coming into this race. 7 races so far this season, 1 win, 2 top 5s, 6 top 10s. That's 6 out of the 7 races he's finished inside the top 10. Average finishing position, 9.43. That is amazing Super Speedway Series numbers for a driver this early on in the season. So Fury Gamington killing it. That's why he comes into this race with a 36-point advantage over Karson Gum, who moved up to 2nd after last week at Pensacola. Nathan Stapleton, he's 43 points back in 4th. Michael Norman jumped up to 4th. He's 51 points back, and completing the top 5 is our M&M's race winner, Jeff Scott. This track and M&M's somewhat similar, a little bit of difference in banking, and of course in racing surface, M&M's more a repaved track. 6th in points is our Daytona winner, Farell. Jack Hallec currently in 7th. Tristen Allen sits in 8th. Benny Watson in 9th. And completing your top 10 is John Andrews. As far as your playoff grid goes, 7 races, 7 different winners. Fury Gamington, Jeff Scott, Farell, Vince Almariego, Sedale Salera, Nathan Ormond, and William Brock, all currently in the playoff grid with wins. Karson Gum, the highest without a win in the point standings right now, holds on to the 8th playoff position. But if we have an 8th different winner here tonight, then the entire playoff grid will be filled with race winners, and it's going to come down to who's got either the most wins or is highest in the points with a win as we get closer to the second half of the regular season. Rob Evans, William Flickinger, green flags in the air at Coca-Cola. Let's roll! We saw him last night going 4 wide, 5 wide, all the way through the field, and we're going to see a change for the lead on the very start of this race. Levi McIntire puts Rob Evans up high. He goes low. He goes to the point off turn number 2. Levi McIntire comes into this race 39th in points, next to last. Only 1 top 10 so far to date in this series, and trying to get the season turned around when he really needs to in order to have a shot of making it into the playoffs. As you see, 1 car off in the wall, 2 cars in the wall. That was Rob Evans, the pole sitter, and Alex Benyacko in the 20, as McIntire will indeed lead lap number 1. Now, another thing we had in the Division 1 race here last night was we had about 3 or 4 different incidents take place that were, I guess you could qualify as wrecks, but it didn't bring out a caution. It took us till lap 7 for the yellow flag to come out, and that was for the only time that night. But expecting to see that maybe we'll see a couple of incidents take place during this race, and maybe not necessarily the yellow flag coming out as a result of it, as Zachary Fitzwater, another driver struggling in the points, 30th in the standings coming into this race. He goes to the point, but here comes the points leader, Fury Gamington, to the inside. He wants to get another bonus point for a lap led as Tristen Allen's in the wall back there off turn 4. And the points leader is going to get himself a bonus point tonight as Fury Gamington is going to lead the completion of lap number 2. That was William Brock in the 0-1. Brock right now the lowest in the standings of drivers that have a win this season. Down near that 30th position in points. He's got to get himself away from there. He's 23rd in points coming into this race. Won at Armory Digital on fuel strategy, as you saw our Dragonette winner Nathan Ormond down on the apron. William Brock, the only driver so far this season to have a race win and a pole win. Got the pole last week at Pensacola. Of course, as we just already documented, had the win at Armory. Another car on the wall up there. That's Patrick Smith as Josh Drake going to go for the race lead. Shelly there as well. Here comes Chris Maley with Dillon Young way down in the bottom, 4 wide. Who's going to be the leader when they head into turn 4 is the big question. Brock up the track. He's into the wall. Oh, look at them bouncing off each other there. Bloomfield, Batson, and Alexander Rowe. Somehow they make it through without incident, as it was Maley with the lead. Now Dillon Young's about to take the lead with help from Ford Keith Batson, and that inside line with Simon Bloomfield starting to get some momentum going into turn 3. Trey Wright right there as well in the 34. We know he's got a fast car. He was the, I believe it was, fastest in qualifying in round 1 a couple of nights ago. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. I know he was in the top 10. I know he qualified this race in the top 10. Started this race from the 10th position. As Dillon Young shows the way in the number 2. Dillon Young comes into this race 35th in points. There's a lot of veterans in this series that you'd expect would be doing a lot better, and they're down near the bottom of the point standings, including Alex Gray and Cody Llamas, Dillon Young, Levi McIntire, James Shelly. And they know, these drivers are veterans, they know that we are now at the halfway point of the season, or the regular season I should say. Time is running out for them to get themselves into the playoffs, and they know that now is the time to start making your moves towards the postseason. Got a bit of a breakaway up here at the front. We got maybe 20-25 cars in this lead pack. I think we have had some incidents take place during the course of these first 6 laps, which obviously you guys have been made aware of, courtesy of the NNSCRA split cam. And with no caution coming out, as opposed to what we had in last night's Division 1 race, you got to think that those slower cars might come into play if this thing continues to go green. Keith Batson, former Hershey's Cup Series champ, he goes to the point. Batson comes into this race currently in 26th, had a very poor performance last week at Pensacola, dropped 14 spots in the standings. That was the most of any driver last week in terms of positions lost. Nathan Ormond side by side there with Zachary Fitzwater, and there's Charles Sandfer in the middle with Daniel Voyles. There's a couple of drivers that also trying to get their season turned around. Sandfer comes into this race currently 22nd in points. Daniel Voyles 29th, and both these drivers have shown what they can do in the Hershey's Cup Series. So see what they're able to do here tonight, as there is Karson Gum and Nathan Stapleton, 2nd and 3rd in points. Stapleton the 72, Gum the 19. Both these drivers trying to run down ONeal Balvin for the points lead, as Charles Sandfer in the wall off of turn 4. The 10 of ONeal Balvin not up here towards the front. He was earlier. There he is. You can see him just barely back there behind Josh Drake. So right now Karson Gum, Nathan Stapleton, while they're not going to take the points lead over with where they're running right now, they'll take a bit of a chunk out of the points lead that Fury Gamington's been able to grow over them. As it's side by side now, Nathan Ormond looking to be the first 2-time winner here in Division 2. And all but confirm himself up a spot in this season's chase for the championship in one of those 8 spots here. trying to still get by Keith Batson, can't do it. He will get second place from Fitzwater, however. Now going to set his sights again on the Mac Tools number 39. Let's jump up towards the rear of the field, see if we can find out drivers that may have been involved in some wrecks or some incidents here that did not bring out the yellow and might be a factor here if these leaders do indeed catch them, as the leaders are in turn number 1. Leaving turn 2, that's Caleb Farell, or that's actually turn 4, sorry. That's Caleb Farell, our Daytona winner. 6th in points, dropped 4 spots after Pensacola. He'll probably drop more after this race. He's dead last right now with damage. Rob Evans, 39th right now for the pole sitter. We were thinking that it was looking like that team was really picking it up in terms of finishes, in terms of momentum. This might put a little bit of a damper on that, as he's got some damage back here. There's Levi McIntire, who we saw at the front earlier. He's got some damage on the right side of his Marvel Studios Ford, and there's some other drivers back here with some pretty extensive damage. Alex Benyacko's got damage. A lot of damage on the right, left, and rear of the 23 of Jake Galloway. Tristen Allen, we know, got the wall at some point. He's back here. Same for William Brock. There's right side damage on Sedale Salera, our winner from Madrid. Patrick Smith's got a little bit of damage on the right side. I think a little bit of damage on the left side as well. We saw Charles Sandfer was up in the wall. He's got damage. Benny Watson's back here, ONeal Balvin, William Flickinger, who started outside of the front row, so our entire front row is back outside of the top 20 right now. Trey Wright's back here with Langeland, Jesse Turner, but I think these guys are all up to speed. I think James Shelly might have just gotten the wall off turn 4. He's losing ground to the lead pack now. Bit of a breakaway there with Norman, Alexander, Rowe, Simon Solera, Eric Sadler, and the car we're focused on right now, the 21 of Simon Bloomfield. As we move back up towards the front, we've had a lead change. Nathan Ormond finally managed to get around Keith Batson. Now he's under fire. Here comes Zachary Fitzwater with a lot of help on that inside line. Can he get to the inside of Ormond? Inverted numbers battling, the 95 and the 59. Alex Gray going to make a move there, 3 wide for 3rd place. And we have gone now 11 laps without the yellow flag coming out. And we saw that with 40th place Caleb Farell still running, all 40 cars are still in this race. No one has retired from the event yet, as Fury Gamington, here he comes again, trying to get the top position. Ooh, Stapleton, I think, might have brushed the wall off turn 2. So now this is going to be interesting, because we did not really get a clear idea in last night's race of how far these drivers really can go on fuel. They did come to pit road under green flag conditions, but that was after they had been to pit road a first time under caution. So we never really knew what the complete fuel window was for these drivers, as Voyles in the wall off turn 4. Now we're going to get an idea, if we do indeed remain green, of just how far these drivers can stretch it. And that will give us an idea of whether or not these drivers will make it on one pit stop or will have to come to pit road before the close of this race. If they're able to make it to lap 17, then they will be good to go the rest of the way on 1 tank of fuel. If they have to pit within the next 2 or 3 laps, they are going to possibly be anywhere from 2 to 3, maybe 4 laps short on Sunoco fuel. So it's going to be very interesting to see when these drivers decide to dive for pit road. Another thing too, pit road is just as treacherous as the racetrack, as Fitzwater in the wall. We saw a number of drivers have some incidents on pit road in last night's race. Case in point, we had 1st and 3rd place come out in 5th and 9th place after caution pit stops because of how congested it was on pit road. Drivers making contact with each other, having difficulty getting into their stalls, exiting their stalls. So we'll see if that's going to be a factor into the outcome of this race as well. And I know that incidents on pit road will not render the throwing of a yellow flag. Mentioned how this track to me is similar in many ways to M&M Super Speedway. Well, our M&M Super Speedway winner, Jeff Scott, took a turn out in front. Now he's going to get kicked out of line. Dillon Young will go to the point as 2 cars hit the wall off that corner. And we got drivers pitting. Jeff Scott, Alex Gray, Nathan Ormond, Jordan Lopes, Josh Drake, Simon Bloomfield, Michael Norman, There's Turner, Langeland, Almariego, and there's a car spinning on pit road. That was Michael Norman after contact with Simon Bloomfield. So there you go, case in point, a treacherous pit road. We'll have to see if Michael Norman can recover from that. That's going to lose him some time and consequently probably some spots on the racetrack as Dillon Young stays out with the 57 of John Andrews. Keith Batson, Cody Llamas, and Nathan Stapleton all stayed out as well. And these drivers all pitting on lap 14. We're now into lap 15, which says to me these drivers are going to be very close still on fuel. These drivers pitting on lap 15. So if this is indeed how far they can go, they're going to be 3 to 4 laps short and are going to have to come to pit road again in the closing stages of this race. We're going to stay on the 2 of Dillon Young because he was the leader when everyone started making pit stops. So we're going to have to see if he does indeed cycle back around in the first position. Keith Batson right behind him in his pit stall. So we'll watch this battle off pit lane. It's going to be easily won, at least between Dillon Young and Keith Batson, by the 2. John Andrews just now leaving. He came in second, so it looks like Dillon Young will, at least in terms of the drivers he came to pit road with, he will be leaving as the leader. Question is, though, will he be coming off pit road and back onto the racetrack as the race leader? I believe the car he is battling right now is the 35 of Jeff Scott. We'll watch the top left of our screen, see if we can find out when Jeff crosses the line. That was Levi McIntire. Oh, there you go. Jeff's already passed him. Jeff Scott's going to go to the lead just like that in the 35. And he leaves Dillon Young in the dust. So that right there gives you an idea of coming to pit road earlier, giving you fresher tires in terms of speed. And it looks like we had another driver possibly stay out. A couple of drivers. Adam Garcia stayed out. He led a lap. I think he's hit pit road now. Like Fury Gamington might have stayed out. Eric Sadler, Simon Salera. And now they have cycled the race lead officially over to the 35 of Jeff Scott, who is now going to pass Jake Galloway. Galloway got some repairs done on pit road, but it's going to trap him a lap down now, though. So Jeff Scott's the leader. Then you got to go quite a ways back before you get to Nathan Ormond, Keith Batson, Alex Gray, Dillon Young. That's 2nd through 5th. 6th right now is John Andrews, Cody Llamas 7th. 8th is Jordan Lopez, 9th Simon Bloomfield. Josh Drake now by his lonesome in 10th. Michael Norman, saw him spin on pit road. He's back in 11th now. Kyle Langeland 12th. 13th is William Flickinger. 14th, Nathan Stapleton. 15th is Jesse Turner. 16th place, Adam Garcia. Dropping back to 17th is Fury Gamington. 18th is Alex Benyacko. 19th, Eric Sadler. 20th place currently is Trey Wright. 21st is Simon Salera. 22nd, Alexander Rowe. 23rd is Patrick Smith. 24th, Karson Gum. 25th is Zachary Fitzwater. 26th is Daniel Voyles. 27th, Benny Watson. 28th is Tristen Allen. 29th, Jack Hallec. 30th right now is Sedale Salera. 31st is ONeal Balvin. 32nd, James Shelly. 33rd is William Brock. 34th, last week's winner, Vince Almariego. And right now, 35th, now the first car a lap down is Chris Maley. Jeff Scott making the pass on him. The rest of the drivers off the lead lap. Levi McIntire, 36th. Jake Galloway, 37th. Charles Sandfer, 38th. 39th, Rob Evans. And Caleb Farell currently in 40th. All 40 cars still running, but 34 of them on the lead lap as Jeff Scott all by his lonesome right now. He's got 3 lap machines between himself and the battle for second and about 5 seconds in hand. The only thing that I would say is detrimental to the lead Jeff Scott has right now is the fact that there's not that big a pack that he's with. He's got slower machines that are where they are because they were damaged at one point, McIntire and Maley and Galloway, so they are not 110% up to speed. And that says to me the 35 is going to be in much more of a fuel jeopardy situation than these drivers back here that are in a bit of a pack. And I just noticed as well, though, Keith Batson did manage to cut into Jeff Scott's lead. But Jeff Scott, I think, going for some strategy here. He comes into this race 5th in points, so he's consistent. He's got the win in the bank at M&M's, so he could take a risk like he has right now. Trying to see if maybe he can come away with a second win, and if that's the case, then he would lock himself up a spot in the playoffs. All these drivers, I think, here went with conventional, so that way they can make sure they're going to have themselves right there in the hunt for a victory to get themselves into the playoffs, because up here in this lead pack, the only one that has been to victory lane so far this season is that 95 of Nathan Ormond, winning back at Dragonette. Batson, Gray, Andrews, Lopes, Dillon Young, Cody Llamas, Simon Bloomfield, they're all looking for their first win of the season. That last time by, Keith Batson did not really gain on Jeff Scott. Still remained roughly about 4.5 seconds. If he gained anything, it was about 6 100ths, which isn't going to cut the mustard, although there is still a long ways to go in this race. Jeff Scott just hit the line, and it leaves us with 12 laps to go. That time by, cut it down by 0.3. That's what Keith Batson's got to keep doing. Vince Almariego now goes a lap down. William Brock will go a lap down. So now 32 cars remain on the lead lap. Jeff Scott trying to get all these lap machines lined up with him so that way he can continue to pull away from Keith Batson. And I think that having to deal with Brock and Almariego that last lap may have helped Keith Batson to be able to cut into Jeff Scott's lead. But again, if the 15 laps we saw these drivers be able to stretch it to, if that is the farthest they can go, these drivers will be back on pit road with about 3 laps to go. Some drivers might be willing to take the risk and stay out, try and go for victory. We'll have to wait and see. As Jake Galloway, a little bit of a hindrance there for Keith Batson. Batson's been able to cut it down to under 4 seconds now, though, the gap between himself and Jeff Scott. Scott starting to pull away from this pack of McIntire, Almariego, Maley, and Brock, who we already documented all had damage at one point or another, and that has caused them to be a little bit off the pace. Jeff Scott's going to cross the line now. Batson crosses the line now, and he gained another half second, even despite having to get around the 23 of Jake Galloway. So now here's the big issue, though. He's closing in on Jeff Scott, no doubt about that, but he's going to have to deal with the slower traffic here of Maley, Brock, Almariego, and McIntire before he can get up there and battle Jeff Scott for the lead. So this is going to be a little bit easier said than done. Keith Batson, though, he's been running good lap times. His fastest lap was a 45.280, and that last time by he ran a 45.361. That's only about a 10th off his fastest lap. That's actually really good speed for a driver that is leading this pack. That time by he was faster, 45.337. About 3 100ths faster than his last lap, and he has cut down the lead now to under 3 seconds. And he's managing to do that while these drivers back here haven't been able to make up their mind if they want to help the 39 run down the race leader or battle for 3rd place. They're 3 wide there with Gray, Lopes, and Andrews. Now looks like they're all trying to get themselves back into single file formation. Looks like we're going to have, if these drivers all remain in this lead group, only 8 drivers that will have a shot potentially at this win. If green flag pit stops don't shuffle things up. Cody Llamas right now in that 8th position. See Simon Bloomfield a long ways back here in 9th. It's even further back to this battle for 10th between Norman, Gamington. You got Flickinger, Langeland, Stapleton, Turner, the lap car of Sandfer, Adam Garcia, Josh Drake, all in this group. And this is going on roughly about 11 seconds back from the race leader. So I don't think they're going to have a ghost of a shot at this win unless, as I said, someone rolls the dice, tries some strategy, and stays out in the closing stages of this race. We're getting close to that fuel window again. These drivers came to pit road last on laps 14, 15. They will have to hit pit road on lap 28, 29, 30, something like that, if indeed that is as far as the fuel tank will go. And we are just about 4 laps away from that taking place. And and that means that the progress that second pack has made on trying to reel in Jeff Scott is going to be hindered a little bit, so they're going to need Jeff Scott to make a little bit of a mistake. I saw Jeff Scott have a really interesting entry into pit road under that first round of pit stops. He kind of came in last minute, carried a lot of speed, and that might have been what allowed him to gain so much time on the racetrack when the pit stops had cycled around. I think Jeff's coming to pit road this time. And yes, he is. He will give up the race lead. He's hitting pit road. Nathan Ormond's coming in as well, and there's some drivers that are staying out. And this, I think, is a wise strategy on the part of Batson, Lopes, Andrews, Alex Gray, because they're going to get a lap in all together, which will be much faster than what Jeff Scott will turn when he comes back out on the racetrack. So I think staying out an extra lap, very smart on the part of these drivers. I'm not sure why Nathan Ormond decided to come to pit road that lap, but we're going to have to see now if the decision to stay out here this extra lap is going to help drivers like Batson and Andrews and Lopes. Looks like Batson's going to come to pit road this time. Maybe not. Stays up a little bit higher. Lopes is coming in though, so too is Alex Gray. A couple of drivers on the tail end of the lead lap also hitting pit road. I saw the 71 of James Shelly among others. So Batson stays out another lap along with John Andrews. He's going to get some draft here. He's on the back bumper of Chris Maley. So it's not like he's all by his lonesome, not being able to get draft, not able to lay down draft laps. As a matter of fact, that last time by was his fastest lap of the race. Also, when you come down later on pit road, you got a better chance of coming down a less congested pit lane. That might also be what Keith Batson's thinking. It looks like we're going to have a bit of a battle for the lead here. Be interesting to see where Batson comes out in relation to Jeff Scott, as he's going to stay out another lap, will Keith Batson. Now, if it is anything to go by, he will have to come to pit road this lap. I don't think, even if drivers wanted to, I don't think they could stretch it an extra 4 laps in this race on fuel. Especially with the fact that Keith Batson spent the majority of that last green flag run leading the second pack. So I'm shocked in that regard that he's able to be out as long as he is. Batson, Andrews, Cody Llamas, Dillon Young rather. Those are the drivers we're basically up here at the front waiting on to come to pit lane. See if Batson is going to peel off this time, and indeed he is. Ooh, John Andrews, I thought he was coming to pit road, but he stays out. Llamas is in, Dillon Young is in, so the 57 stays out an extra lap. John Andrews comes into this race 10th in the point standings, dropped 4 spots last week after Pensacola. Trying to roll the dice here. Was he saving possibly when he was in that pack? Also staying out was the 29 of Adam Garcia, although he is over 11 seconds back. It's like Fury Gamington may have also stayed out an extra lap in the 10, the points leader. John Andrews going to get held up a little bit here behind William Brock. And now he's coming to pit road, and he's going to have some company with him. So this may not be exactly the pit entry he was hoping for, as he has to pit with Hallec, Brock, and Maley. Now it's going to come down to the 39 and the 35. Oh, we got contact on pit road there between Brock and Daniel Voyles. Karson Gum just now leaving pit road, second in the standings. Let's find the 39 and the 35. Where are they in relation to each other? There's the 35 of Jeff Scott. Dillon Young's ahead of him. Llamas is ahead of him. And so is Batson. I think Batson's going to cycle to the race lead. Yes, he is. Well, at least right now he's in third. He just needs to get by the 29 of Garcia and the 57 of Andrews. Andrews is going to come off pit road way ahead of everybody else. Batson's got to hustle. Right now, John Andrews has got the race lead, and he's got a big gap between himself and the 39. Not nearly as fast into this corner as drivers like Caleb Farell and Rob Evans, who are both a lap down, but he's going to see 2 laps to go this time by. And Batson is a long ways back, and he doesn't have help. Cody Llamas just now made his way around the 11 of ONeal Balvin, who was a lap down. Andrews is up here with a pack. 2 to go for the Sonic Racing Chevrolet. Can he hang on, or can Keith Batson run him down? Batson, again, having to play catch-up over 3 seconds back behind the 57 of Andrews, who decided to stretch it even further. He stayed out 2 laps before everyone started making pit stops. Batson's got Cody Llamas with him now, though, in the 15. Do they have enough time to run down John Andrews for the win? Llamas going to try and go for second. I think he thinks that battle is over, so he's going to try and get the best finish he possibly can. White flag displayed for the 57 of John Andrews. Working pit strategy here tonight at Coca-Cola and looking for his first win of the season. 10th in the points coming into this race. He has only 1 top 10 average finishing position, about 18th so far this season. But trying to become the 8th different winner this season, with where he is in points, would have himself in a good spot to be in the playoffs if he is able to capitalize on this win. Slower lap traffic all around him, doesn't matter, they're giving him room, he's giving them room. He'll come off turn number 4, and with amazing pit strategy here tonight at Coca-Cola, John Andrews will take his first checkered flag of the season. Well, I was questioning John Andrews staying out as long as he did. He was with traffic, not only on the racetrack, but also when he came to pit road, but that did not hinder him at all. And it's kind of interesting. It's like the tale of 2 pit stops. We saw Jeff Scott come to pit road early. He emerged with a huge race interval lead after the first round of pit stops. Flip side, John Andrews stayed out as long as he could, and he came out with a huge interval from first back to second. So there was really no consistency to follow here at Coca-Cola, but the end result is the end result. John Andrews picks up the victory. No doubt will stay in the top 10 in points after this terrific run. And now becomes the 8th different winner this season. All 8 spots right now for the playoffs are filled by race winners. That means for the remaining 7 races of the regular season, it's going to come down to getting a second win or drivers to be high enough in the points with a win. It comes down to race wins now. There's no more points on the line. So Andrews gets the win. Cody Llamas, I think, realized that. He battled Keith Batson for second. He will take the second position. Keith Batson will have to settle for third. Dillon Young brings it home with a solid outing of 4th. Alex Gray in 5th. Jordan Lopez in 6th. Jeff Scott had the lead there before the cycle of pit stops that second time around, but he will finish out the evening in 7th. Simon Bloomfield will get 8th. Nathan Ormond brings it home 9th. And how about this? Another top 10 for Fury Gamington. This team is red hot. And at this point, I think it's too early, but I think if he keeps this up for the next 2 races, I think they will have themselves confirmed, even with 1 win, in a spot for this season's chase for the championship. Kyle Langeland will bring it home in 11th. 12th for Josh Drake. Michael Norman in 13th. Adam Garcia was 14th. Nathan Stapleton in 15th. So pretty good runs for a couple of drivers. Top 5 in the points there. Stapleton and Norman in 3rd and 4th in the standings, finishing inside of the top 20. But the bad news for them was Fury Gamington finished better than they did, as it's going to be Eric Sadler in 16th, Alex Benyacko 17th, Jesse Turner 18th, Simon Salera in 19th, and Trey Wright completes the top 20. With it being the long green flag runs from coast to coast, we ended up having drivers finish off the lead lap, but nobody out of the race. Last car in the lead lap was Tristen Allen in 28th place, then Hallec, Balvin, Maley, Almariego, Salera, McIntire, Brock, Sandfer, Shelly, Galloway, Farell, and Evans all finished 1 lap down. 4 of our 8 race winners this season all finished off the lead lap outside of the top 30. Those being Almariego, who won last week, Salera, who won at Madrid, Brock, who won at Armory, and Farell, who won at Daytona. So we talked about drivers that have a win needing to keep themselves up there in the point standings. Be interesting to see if those drivers might find themselves in a bit of a deficit heading into next week. But John Andrews joins the drivers that have a shot of making it into the season's chase for the championship with his win here tonight at Coca-Cola Superspeedway. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's race. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, become part of the crew today. We'll be sharing your full finish results. These are your overall point standings heading next week as we prepare for race number 9 for both divisions at Pepsi Superspeedway. Coca-Cola this week, Pepsi next week. Contradiction of terms? I think so. But anyway, we will see you guys next week as we will have qualifying on Friday, Division 1 race on Saturday, and Division 2 race on Sunday. Till then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best. Good night from the Coca-Cola Superspeedway.